والسلام على أشرف المرسلين سيدنا وحبيبنا مولانا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وعلى آله وأصحابه وبارك وسلم. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا، اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وزدنا علما يا مقلب القلوب ثبت قلوبنا على دينك آمين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Brothers, you all awake? You still as long? Alhamdulillah. MashaAllah, I can see a lot of you back, MashaAllah. Welcome to the online students as well. Alhamdulillah, we are on Surah Mutafifin. Just find it quickly. Okay, Bismillah. Let's get all this windows right here. Okay, so Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Surah Al-Mutafifin. First of all, just in terms of whether it is Makki and Madani, what did you guys find? Did you read up about it beforehand? What does your book say? What does your book say? Oh, your Mus'haf? Okay, so there's basically ikhtilaf on whether some, let's say some surahs are definitely Makki and some are definitely Madani, and some there's going to be ikhtilaf on whether it is Makki or Madani. Many scholars would hold the surah to be Makki, where some scholars would say that some of the verses are Makki and some are Madani. Some scholars would say it was revealed just before Hijrah. Some scholars would say that it was revealed just after Hijrah, especially the first part. And some will actually say it was revealed between Makkah and Medina during the Hijrah. So it's basically in that period. It's in that period towards the end of Makkah, Hijrah into Medina. Then the Prophet ﷺ comes to Medina. And one of the things the Prophet ﷺ does a number of things in Medina. What's the first thing he does in Medina? What's the first few things that you can think of that he comes to Medina? Some of his first actions when he comes. They build a masjid. So one of the first things they do, and I find that the Prophet ﷺ's arrival to Medina to be a good model to think about community development as a framework, So the Prophet ﷺ does a number of things. He sets up, and I think it's a beautiful framework. They normally study development studies. It's one of the majors you can do. Go work with the UN, do your understanding development studies. And I think this is a very good model. So one of the first things he does is he sets up a masjid. What is the function of the masjid? It's a center for the community, essentially to pray, but also to learn as well. You have the Ashab al-Sufa who learn, and also actually in a sense, kind of like a housing for because some people lived in there. They lived at the Sufa. You can still go to Medina, you can see the Sufa area there. They lived there, and actually people would go and actually feed them there and would help them. So it was like a place of refuge and a place of learning as well. So there's a number of functions. What else did the Prophet ﷺ do when he came to Medina? Good, the akhat. So basically the mu'akhat. So basically the Prophet ﷺ started pairing people. How did the pairs work? You pair a Makkah to a Medina person. Why? The person from Medina is established. They have a home, they have a business, they have links. The person from Makkah often fled in the middle of the night with the little 2 bags, and they arrive with nothing. And the beautiful thing is this mu'akhat, and he pairs them as if they are brothers now. You take care of this, you give them some housing, you give them some clothing, you look after this person, which I think is it's really a beautiful model, to think about. Good. So that's in terms of social development, wealth redistribution, equality. There's a lot of things we can learn from mu'akhat in terms of the principles. And I think it needs to be, like we have so many gems, and we struggle with these same things. And we have so many gems in our Sharia and in the practice of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And with mu'akhat, there was a sense that the poor have a right to the wealth of the rich. And it wasn't the normal right. The normal right is zakah. But almost like in this dire circumstance, there was something additional. You know, like this person came with nothing, no home, nothing. There's a special circumstance. I'm gonna make you a brother now. Take care of this person and get them on their feet, get them going. So it's profound lessons. What else do they do? There's still two more actions are very important. Mu'akhat, the masjid, what else? Okay, the Baitul Mal came a bit later. It wasn't immediate. What is one of the first things? In there, they found the Jews. What happened with that? The treaty. Good. The Sahifa. So, not Sahifa, what's it called? It's called Sahifa. It's called Sahifa. I get confused now. It might be called, I can't remember what it's called, the Sahifa, the Constitution of Medina. So basically, it's considered to be the world's first constitution, actually. It's the first time that a people come together and they recognize themselves as one. I mean, obviously very small, but like almost like a nation state. And then they recognize the individual rights within them. So the Prophet ﷺ recognized the Jewish tribe's rights, and he recognized the rights of the Muslims. And then he also outlined the responsibilities. Like if we are attacked, then you will send your army and we will send our army, we'll fight together. So there's collective rights and collective responsibilities, which is like we think we come with now, the pluralism is now like the new discovery of the last 100, 200 years, and democracy. And we've been, the Muslims, that's the essence of the Muslims have been living for the most. I mean, the Christians were the complete opposite. I mean, they would send armies as part of their conquest, or what do you call that? The Crusades. I mean, and they kill other groups of Christians who are not part of their. I mean, it's like the Muslims have been doing this not only in the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. What happens when the Muslims went to India? The Hindus stayed Hindus. You can be Hindu, you can have a temple, you can, what happens when the Muslims went to Egypt? The Coptics stayed Coptics. And to this day, they're still Coptics. So this idea that Islam is intolerant, Islam has been tolerant 1,000 years before you even discovered any notion of tolerance. So sometimes the framing of this is very skewed. So this constitution, you can Google it, inshallah, it's there, it's available. You can read it. It's a long, lengthy document, but it was inscribed. What's the next thing? So you can see how we're covering all the things here: spiritual, education, social relief. We're considering safety, security of a nation, harmful relation, not harmful, peaceful coexistence. What's the next thing? What's the thing missing still? Okay, the court would come as well, but the court would come after a while because the laws take a while to get revealed with regards. This is going to be one of the development of it. But one of the immediate things is that who controlled the markets in Medina? Even that time, the Jews controlled the market. So they came to Medina, the Jews controlled the market. And when the Prophet ﷺ came to Medina, not only the Jews, also the Mushrikun also, they describe Medina as one of the worst places when it comes to trade. One of the most corrupt places. When I say corrupt, they used to defraud people. In fact, there was this one, so this comes in the tafsir, we might have read it. This one trader, he used to have two scales. One scale when he sells and one scale when he buys. So they used to be one of the worst people. They also had like weird business practices. They had a business practice like you pay money, you take a stone, and then you throw the stone, and wherever it lands, you get that thing. It's a form of buying. A form of buying. It's a bit like gambling, basically. We'll have to find. I don't know how prevalent interest was at that time. The Jews and the Gentiles, we have to check. What I find quite interesting is that if you go to a bookshop, you're going to find a whole lot of books on Islam and Christianity. You're going to find no spotlight on Jewish law. Like, how much do we know about Jewish law? We know about Islam, we cut off hands and we work people and we do all of these things. Yeah, that's not what the Muslims, that's what the definition of Muslim. Like in the Western mind, the definition of Sharia law is like, but now where's the spotlight on Jewish law? Do Jews stone people, kill people? In terms of the law? Well, you get the range of Orthodox and you get... No, so the Jews basically are different because the Jews are a race and a religion. So in other words, you can be a Jewish by race because your mother's Jewish, but you can be an atheist Jew. In other words, I'm Jewish by race because my mother's Jew, but I don't subscribe to the Jewish religion. So they're on a whole spectrum from an atheist Jew all the way to the ultra-Orthodox Jew. But the point I want to make is that there's no spotlight on their religion. Yeah, but they have books over there. They have their only, but they're not the Torah, they have another book as well. The book of law as well. I'm just saying, like, we have all the spotlight on Muslim women. We have hijab and niqab. What about the Jewish law on dress? Like, there's no spotlight. There's like zero spotlight. Like, we don't even know the laws. But the Muslim laws is headlined everywhere. And I'm telling you, the Jewish laws are more severe. That's why Nabi Isa came to actually lighten the laws. So I think it's the food is like intense. They're worse than Sana. I'm just joking. I'm joking. This is jokes. We love Sana, MJC, Ixa, we eat them all. In this moon star, we bismillah. I'm just saying that Joe will come in and say, no, don't eat Sana. Don't eat this the other stuff. You guys are, no? Yes. I don't know too much about them, but I think a lot of the laws actually, like Arul, the Talmud. I don't know much. I think we need to learn more about Judaism, but I think the Talmud is basically the book of law, like the fiqh book. Yes. Yes. I mean, it's interesting to read about how the law came about because there's a lot of breaks in transmission in terms of. So back to the discussion. What the Prophet did then was he established a market in Medina. And what is the interesting thing about? I mean, if I think about the market in Medina, it was just like amazing. It wasn't at the door of the mosque, but it was close to the mosque. So it's good access to the market. Number two was that you couldn't book your spot in the market. You couldn't book your spot and say, I buy the spot. Whoever comes first gets a spot. So you early in the morning, you come with your shop and you sit up. They're obviously not like build shops. You come with just a table and you put if you come early, then that's your spot. Number three, there wasn't fees. You wasn't pay for the spot, which I find like profound because now you have equitable access and you have like fair access because whoever comes first, not the one who has the most money buys a spot. The one who comes first, you work the hardest, you get a good spot. Next thing was you weren't allowed to go out of the market and intercept the caravan and buy the goods and bring it in. Because you monopolize the goods. The caravan must come into the market and then the traders can buy from the caravan. So Islam is particularly anti-monopoly. But it's not price setting. When once the price is going up, the ask for some, please set the price. In Allah Musa'ir. Really, Allah is the one who sets the price. Which if you think about what's the other guy who learned economics? What's it? No, the other guy that it's been a while since economics, man. Invisible hand. Who did economics here? None of you. Any of you? What type of people are you guys? Did you not do even like a first year course, second year course? Nothing. No, man, the most famous person, the father of free market economics, man, just in my mind now. No, man.
Adam Smith.
Adam Smith. I think is Adam Smith there? Who said that now?
I think it is Adam Smith, man.
Adam Smith. What did he say about the invisible hand? Yes, give it to us. We can all hear you.
I'd have to Google it, but the name just came to me.
Okay. Anyway, Adam Smith, I remember my first economics. He spoke about that behind the market there's an invisible hand. And the invisible hand sets its price at 10 rand. And the invisible hand obviously is the intersection of demand and supply. But I find the Prophet expressed it beautifully. He says, "Inna Allah al-Musa'id." Verily Allah is the one who sets this price. Which I find interesting in terms of that. Anyway, like if you just think about what the Prophet did when he came to Medina, it's like for me, it's mind blowing. It's like utterly completely mind blowing because it's all the blocks like spiritual, education, social development, peace and security, nation state, free trade, equitable trade. And the Prophet never used to like people asking for things. The hadith says that the best food you can eat is the food that you earned with your own hand. The Prophet used to encourage work. Used to encourage work. He said even if you have to go in there and chop some wood and sell wood, it's got to be like a low profession. That's a better thing than to ask people for money. So the idea of a work ethic was instilled from the beginning. So if you think of all of those factors, it was like almost like a government department, in the proper strategy and a proper plan. But it's like breathtaking for me how this was done so many years ago. And then this surah comes to correct some of those bad practices. Well, it says Waylul lil Mutafifin. Because now the Prophet is entering into Medina, it's a corrupt system. We have all those random ways of buying. One way of buying was you close your eyes and then like you must touch something, and then whatever you touch, like I say, I can pay 50 rand from the buy whatever I touch. You must close your eyes and walk over there and like, okay. Oh no. I'd rather touch this. So these were some of the practices they want to get rid of. Why? Because any practice where there is taking someone's rights away, giving someone less than what they paid for is a bad practice. Any practice where you don't know what you're buying, you're closing your eyes, you're throwing a stone, it's actually impermissible because of haram. Because of generally in Islamic trade, you don't want two things. You don't want haram. Number one, haram means uncertainty. When you say uncertainty, we don't mean like market uncertainty. We mean when you pay at that moment, what are you buying at that moment? In the future, we don't know, that's the future. But at that moment, I must know what I'm buying. And you must know what you're getting also. You understand what I mean? So, and the second thing we don't like is riba. Those are the two main things with regard, like all that Islamic finance stuff. That's the two main things we don't like basically. And obviously fraud and those things. Those are the understandings. So this verse begins with a heavy word wail, which means like wail is like destruction. Like it's may this group be destroyed. May this group perish. Also named the valley of hellfire is called wail as well. And this wail goes for who? Lil Mutafifin. So what does Mutafifin mean? Mutafifin mean? It's something.
Defrauding.
Just say it again, doctor.
Frauding, those who cause fraud in their dealings.
Okay, I didn't get exactly clear, but doctor, you always right, so I'm sure it's the right answer. So basically, a sense of fruit, but mutafi basically means actually to lighten something. It means that you are a seller, and then you lighten something. For example, you're selling a kilo of something, but you're actually giving 800 grams. That's the idea of mutafif. So here's going to be two words coming in the surah. The one is iktalu or kalu and wazanu. So it comes from the word kale and wazan. When you buy something, what's the what's the difference between a kilogram and a liter in terms of the type of? The one is a volume measure or capacity measure. The other one is a mass or weight. I don't know if mass or weight is right, but the difference between the two. I think mass is the right one, right? A mass one. So give me an example of a volume capacity one. A liter. You know, if you can remember something from school, then you know you had a good teacher. Because I can distinctly remember my science teacher telling me a liter is 10 centimeters by 10 centimeters by 10 centimeters. So any container that is 10 centimeters wide, 10 centimeters deep, and 10 centimeters high, that is a liter. So my teacher, you know, if I remember something, it must be a good. It's one of the few things I can remember from school. But I understood that because depending what you put in that, it will weigh different. If you put oil in there, it will be different from water. The weight will be different, but the capacity is the same. So some things you buy in capacity, and some things you buy in weight, like you buy generally your vegetables in weight. In mass. Now, so Allah is going to explain who the Mutafifin is. Alladina, those that idha iktalu. Who wants to venture which bab it is? Just guess. You see what happens is that when you see a ta in the middle of something, you immediately think of ifta'ala. You with me? Because the root letters here are kaf, ya, lam. Kaf, ya, lam. So put kaf, ya, lam into ifta'ala. Kaf, ya, lam into. No, it's a great opinion. No, this pen works. They just write on here. Do you press something to write? Okay, it's mute sketch pad. Oh, but it's a separate thing. Okay, anyway, it tries out just for fun. It writes on the PowerPoint. So if I have ifta'ala, and I put kaya line to there, kale, it becomes what? Iktayala. Iktayala. But now, ifta'ala, but this one, tayala doesn't right. So you know when it comes to a weak letter, we normally the weak letter is the one we change. So what we change it to? We change it to a mad. Becomes iktala. We change that ya into a alif with a mad. Becomes iktala on the 8th bab. So kayl is what? Idaktalu refers to weight or mass or capacity, mass or what's the volume? Kayl refers to volume. But the intention here, it actually includes all measures. Just because it would have been very not concise to say every time kayl wasn't. Idaktalu ananas. So who is the Mutafifin? The Mutafifin, they have Allah described them in 2 verses. They have this quality. Alladina, those that when iktalu alannas, when they sell something by capacity. They sell something like this bottle of water here by capacity alannas. Sorry. Iktalu is when you take something for yourself. You take something in capacity for yourself. Like I'm going to buy this bottle of water. When they take something alannas from people in capacity or by extension in weight, yastawfun. Yastawfun means what? They take it in full. For the word wafa. Yastawfun means they take it in full. Means when they buy something, they demand that they get their full right, which is fine. No problem. But what it goes with the next verse. So that quality alone is not a problem. The quality is fine. But the next verse, wa is there for conjunction. So if it had to be or, it would be what? So okay, so we have two, where we have either this or that is bad, or this and this put together is bad. You with me? If it had to be this or this, it would be this or this. You with me? But if it's both, it has to be wa. So it shows you the wa shows you that both conditions must go together. Wa and, so in other words, when they buy, they take in full wa and either when kaluhum. Kalu means weigh. Kaluhum means weigh for them. Not weigh, is weigh right? I don't know. What's the verb for capacity? Volume. When they measure, okay, they measure. When they measure for them, they measure out something for them. Oh, wazanuhum. Oh, or wazanuhum. Wazanu is then going to be mass, weight. Or when they weigh something for them, yukhsirun. What is the word verb? Akhsara yukhsiru. Which verb is that?
Fourth.
Fourth verb. Causation. And khasr is what? Lose. So what's akhsara yukhsiru? To cause loss. وَإِذَا كَالُوهُمْ أَوْ وَزَنُوهُمْ يُخْسِرُونَ. They cause loss. Meaning what? They cause loss for the other person. They cause loss in the other person. We can think of this as, let's call it a literal application, or we can take it as a more general application. Meaning what? If I think about this literally, I'm thinking about goods which you measure or which you weigh. But if I think about it more generally, it will be any transaction where you don't give someone their full right. You with me? Because obviously now we don't always sell physical goods. So we take the same verse actually and we extend it to any other type of contract. That you shouldn't be in a situation where you are demanding your rights in full, but you are depriving someone else from their rights. And when Allah discusses this, Allah is always going to, one of the things about the Quran you must take note of is Allah will link fiqh to aqidah all the time. What is fiqh? What does fiqh pertain to? Fiqh pertains to actions. Fiqh only pertains to actions, not to belief. Fiqh is like how do you make salah, face the qibla, cover yourself. How do you make, that's all the preconditions. In arka, you must have the niyyah, it's all the stuff you must do basically. Whereas aqidah is about what? Belief. I believe in Allah, year after also. Allah is going to link constantly in the Quran what you do to what you believe. That something like buying and selling something is something connected to your whole belief. If Allah says, "Ala yadhunnu ulaika annahum mab'uth." Allah, Allah there means do not. La means not, and there is question. Is it not? Yadhunnu. Yeah, what does dhan mean? Dhan means number of things. Dhan in the Quran can have three meanings. Can mean to guess, can mean to be certain, and can mean to be probable. But the real definition of dhan is when you believe something with probable knowledge. When you believe something that it is most likely to occur. Like you have dhan, for example, that you will have lunch today. It's not definite. You may pass away on the way. You won't ever have lunch. You may come home and there's nothing to eat. You won't have lunch. But there's knowledge you have lunch. So Allah says, Allah yazunnu dunu. They not think it's likely. They don't think it's they're not have this idea that ulaika is the fa'il. To those people not have this dhani is going to be like probable. Not probable doesn't mean like yes, maybe no. It means that you have like a overwhelming knowledge. What do I mean by that? Very few things in life you are definitely sure about. Like without 100% doubt, without 100% certainty, most of the things you're certain about actually things happened in the past. You're sure you're born, you're sure you came to class this morning, or you logged in online in the past. In the future, most of the things, like when you walked in the masjid, were you sure the roof wasn't going to fall? To what percentage were you sure? Is it possible that the roof could have fallen in? It's possible. Or this class can fall in, I don't know. But we have problems. So in other words, most of life is based on actually dhan, which you call dhan rajih, which is probably like, like almost like overwhelming knowledge, convincing knowledge. So ala yadhunnu doesn't mean like it's yes or no. It means like, don't they have like convincing knowledge? Annahum that they mab'uthun, that they are going to be mab'uthun. Ba'atha means to raise. Ba'ith is the raiser. The mab'uth ismu fa'il is the one who is raised. Mab'uthun is the khabar anna. Second is, you know that now? Inna annaka anna lakinna layta la'alla. It's all kana. You know inna. Inna is the opposite of kana. And anna is the sister of inna. So kana, the ism kana is raf'un, the khabar kana is nasb. Anna is the opposite. The ism kana is nasbum. And the khabar kana mab'uthun raf'un, satra. Anna means that. Do they not think that they are going to be raised? So here again, can you see Allah is linking something as simple as a transaction? You are buying and selling something. If you are going to defraud someone, you're going to tell someone, listen, it's a kilogram I'm selling you, but it's actually 100 grams. Do you not think that you are accountable in your aqidah before Allah Ta'ala on the Qiyam? That your simple action here is not limited to this moment. It is limited to your eternal destiny. And this is the power of being a believer, is that you have an inner compass. You have an inner guide. Because Allah is the one watching. Not because the law says, oh, I'm going to get caught out, or the camera's watching me, or they're going to do a stock take at the end of the day. That's almost like irrelevant to us. For a believer, that is the moment. And alhamdulillah, I think by and large, no, I don't know. I don't know what Muslim, I don't know. Some people are honest, and some people complain about Muslim businesses and Muslim traders. I'd rather go make business with a white man. Now, you know what the problem I think with Muslims is not always that they're dishonest, it's that they're very unprofessional.
Inshallah, next week I can do it.
Yeah, but so what I'm saying is that it's not.
Inshallah.
Yeah, I'm saying that's the whole point. That's an important point, because you are dealing with a fellow Muslim. Almost like the rules change now. You with me? Because if I'm dealing with someone else, listen here, where's the contract? Where's the agreement? Write it down. Send me the code. But now when you deal with a Muslim, almost like different rules now. Don't worry, I'll sort out inshallah.
When the buyer decided to a higher standard, you decided to a high level of mercy.
And like, I mean, that happens to me so often. Like, even with professional, okay, I won't mention that. I mean, like, I had someone, like, I'm dealing with a professional all the time. Listen, you must give me a price. Don't worry, inshallah, don't worry. I mean, when I got the price, it was a substantial price. But you know what I mean? There's a whole attitude when it comes to Muslims, almost like the rules just change. It's very, very bad. It's very, very bad. And when it comes to business, the sunnah is you write stuff down. You know, you write stuff, you record stuff. The longest ayah in the Quran is about writing your debt down. A whole long ayah in the Baqarah, the longest ayah in the Quran, but writing your debt down. You know, that's the most important thing. Because if someone gives you money, you know, can you lend me and pay back when you can, inshallah. You know, write it down. You know, it's a very bad thing. And then if you combine it with dishonesty, it gets even worse. You with me? Because now you have a double whammy. The one thing is you're unclear, nothing is written down, there's no agreement. and some people are dishonest. Then that whole thing says, now how does it only deal with Muslim? The combination of all of that just says, now I don't deal with the Muslim. Because it's, so I think we must be careful about that. For the Muslim. Did he give you a quote?
To get the quote, I mean,
Yeah, Rob.
you feel like at some point, I'm sure that my husband felt like, sure, I'm being so difficult because I want to quote. But it goes back to what Marina said.
Yeah.
You want to know what you buy. You want to know like what services am I going to do? Until where are you going to build? Does this include X, Y, Z? And like the building contracting industry.
No, I know. Yes.
I totally know.
You can't ask him like what's the mean. Like you want to know everything actually. You want to know like the detail, what products you're buying or what you're doing. But then almost like the feeling is, don't you trust me? You know, I mean, like, don't you? What's wrong with you? It's not about trust. No, it's not about trust, man. It's not the relationship of trust. No.
You cannot see under the foundation.
No.
You cannot see in the wall the lights or anything you go all the reason. Right? So this is in relation to writing the things down and having a conflict and reading this time after. Now you don't have a way to respond to that person. And then you can see lawyers and stuff, and now that costs even more money. And you are then fighting for what is your. Now the same word is going to back to this lady in the water. That kind of thing. And when you are asking them, you are being done even more. So the correct thing, I agree with the lady with, is the courts, get things in writing and get 3 courts over. Anything, get 3 courts. And only if the women is not so afraid to take it on, to take their job, go do facility management, go do your maintenance and repairs, go do your category of electrical repairs and maintenance, and your plumbing and your water. And find where in your contract you expect that comes maintenance, where in it comes in the services. You get the first one, I think, a few years ago.
I think I'm very experienced, no? MashaAllah. No.
But Maulana, the same thing, find out what is your major services, what is your minor services do for annum, what is all involved with it. Do you need a job card afterwards to complete and for it to be signed off? How soon must it be signed off after a job was done? 2 weeks or a month later, whatever. And within the prescribed time for your guarantee or your whatever that follows afterwards.
Yes,
so
yes.
those are all the things it's away.
Yes, yes. So all of those things I was speaking about is about this professionalism, and just I didn't catch up the class quickly because they couldn't hear. So basically, I think there's like collective trauma in the class from all the building, like a collective. You know, we all have our stories. If you don't have a story, then the story will come. So there's a collective trauma. In fact, someone told me that the Jews, I think it was true, but the Jews have a saying: if they want to curse you, they say, "May there be builders in your house." Whether we builders in your house, you will make a bad dua for someone. But basically, there is I think this experience you're speaking about is universal. That we all experience this unprofessionalism and bad. Not everybody also. There are good builders who do things professionally and who are honest. So we're not categorizing all of them as bad, but there are lots of issues. Also, mechanics also goes all of these services issue. But actually, the opposite is that the Muslims are always known in the past for actually excellence in their work. You know, that's actually where the Muslim reputation comes from in terms of precision. And you find some of the old people are still like that. Not the young generation, but the older ones are still, they take a lot of pride in their work. the young ones, they have all the contracts, but they don't work with the they'll give you all the contracts, but then so but that's the other side of the story. You know, the point I want to make is that it's something that we have to change, and it's not about trust. It's about how we do business. We write things down. Even if it's your own blood brother giving money, you must write it down. Because trust me, after 10, 15 years, you don't remember how much it was, but did not pay you back for that, and didn't I do this, and then you have it in your heart, you know, but you didn't pay me back, and all of, even if it's your blood brother, you write it down, because that is the way of the sunnah. You write things down. So so the point I want to make also is that link that we have, we must be very meticulous about it. If you are selling a product or a service, you must be absolutely meticulous, because you are taking someone's wealth and you will be accountable for what you're doing on the day of Qiyamah. And no matter how complex the transaction becomes, it still has a fundamental exchange. And we have to be very, very precise about that, because أَلَا يَظُنُّ أُولَٰئِكَ أَنَّهُمْ مَبْعُوثُونَ. When Allah says ulaika, who does it encompass here? Believers and unbelievers. You see what happens is that who doesn't believe in the resurrection? Like, okay, let me write down for you quickly. Who doesn't believe in the resurrection? The believers and the non-believers. No, I don't make a new page here. Okay, I think that's a new page here. On the top right. This here. Coming soon, new whiteboard. Here we go. Okay. So when you say ba'ath, you have, let's say, belief, and you have, let's just call it fraud for now. That's just a nice short word. I think this is no work out this proper 2x2 matrix thing. So when then you have believers and you have non-believers. Do the believers believe in the year after? Okay, so do the believers believe in the year after? Yes. Do non-believers believe in the year after? No. Are there believers who commit fraud? Yes. Are there non-believers who commit fraud? Yes. And maybe I should put the no fraud here. No fraud. I don't know the right way to do it. Anyway, are the believers who commit no fraud? Are the non-believers who commit no fraud? Why do I put the X there? But too many crosses here, man. I mean, the whole thing they kind of anyway. The point I wanted to make. The point I wanted to make is that you get a non-believer who doesn't believe in the year after. So what I'm trying to get at is that when we have a verse like this, Ala yadunnu ulaika, who is the ulaika referring to? Are you with me? That's why I'm doing this whole exercise. I'm trying to get you into the mind space, understand when Allah says they, what does Allah actually mean? So when Allah says they, Allah is speaking directly, number one, to a group of people who commit fraud. So Allah is speaking about that group, right? Right? So that group there contains believers and non-believers. But at the same time, there are also going to be who they are going to be non-believers who don't commit fraud, who don't think they're going to be resurrected. Are you with me? So then I must extend it now to also this whole column here. You with me? So who we left with? We left with believers who, they're the only exception to the verse. Okay, so let me, that's what I mean. I made this, I don't know, you can think of the matrix is wrong, but anyways, I suppose to know this stuff, but anyway, it's 2x2 matrix. So what I'm saying is that number one, the ayah in its, you see what happens is that when you come to a verse, there's two ways of looking at the verse at all times. Well, there's many ways, but the one way of looking at the verse is that you can look at the verse devoid of its context. In other words, I can say, أَلَا يَظُنُّ أُولَٰئِكَ أَنَّهُمْ مَبْعُوثُونَ. I'm not looking about Mutafifin only, I'm just speaking about general people. Ulaika means all people. So who is all people? Can be a whole group of people. Or I can restrict the verse only to its context. Or I can say a verse applies primarily to its initial context, but by extension it applies to its general meaning as well. Does it all make sense to you? And as you navigate that, you'll find Mufassirun differ. That's how they also process the verse. So when Allah says, أَلَا يَظُنُّ أُولَٰئِكَ أَنَّهُمْ مَبْعُوثُونَ, the initial thing comes to your mind, Allah is speaking about Mutafifin. Yes. And then Allah speaks about Mutafifin. I think about, don't those Mutafifin believe in the year after? Then you come to the Muslim, non-Muslim problem. Now if Allah is speaking about Mutafifin who are non-Muslim, it fits like exactly, because they are Mutafifin and they are being immoral because they don't think they're going to be resurrected. So there I have almost like let's call it the number one application. But then I come to a Muslim who is Mutafifin. So what does it mean to the Muslim? You do believe, but you don't have a strength in your belief. So Allah yadhunnu is almost like a rebuke. Don't you think that you're going to? In other words, it does apply to the Muslim. Then you can take a step back and you say, Allah yadhunnu ulaika annahum mab'uthun. But doesn't it also mean people who are not Mutafifin who don't believe they are? It could possibly. It could possibly. So then you come to a number 3. So as you move through that process of direct application to broader application, therefore the meaning can basically change according to that spectrum, depending on how you view it. Mostly scholars would view things according to what the possibilities of what the word can contain. The problem, the challenge with linking something to a context, it becomes less extendable. You with me? It becomes less extendable because Allah might speak about one thing, but Allah means any type of thing. In other words, what's the next year after Wailul lil Mukaththibin? Right in the surah. Now, is it Mukaththibin the Mutafifin or the Mukaththibin any Mukaththibin? Is it Mukaththibin bil Ba'ath only? You understand? Like I mentioned, I must make the linkages. If it's a Mutafifin surah, is it Mukaththibin only on the Mukaththibin who are Mutafifin or just Mukaththibin in general? So you're always trying to say how narrow or wide you apply the verse. So the way I prefer to do it is saying, based on the context, this is the primary audience, but based on the language, the audience can be extended because that is the weight of what the words carry. The words have a different weight. So the ulama slightly differ about how they carry those words. So Allah yadhunnu, do not think ulaika, those who are not believers, who are defrauding other people, don't they have belief in the year after? And those believers who are defrauding other people, are they not reminded? Are they not conscious that they are going to be resurrected? لِيَوْمٍ عَظِيمٍ, for a yawm, a day which is azim, which is great. In other words, the azim there is actually there to cause more terror and more consciousness about this day. And what about this yawm? What is yawmun azim? It is yawma. It is a day yaqumu, will stand. And will stand means like standing to account. You can almost like picture, it's like a very visual. To say someone will account is one thing, but to say someone will stand, you almost like picture like a court. Yaqumu will stand, and nasu, the people will stand, all of humankind will stand, before Rabbil Alamin. Why not the Rahman? The Rahman is a soft meaning. Rabbil Alamin is Jalala, power, to the Lord, the Master of all of the worlds. In other words, it's there to instill that awe of Allah Ta'ala. So that's going to be the linkage, and I think it's important to appreciate that linkage, because when a believer always links the action to belief, they live a life of ihsan. Because ihsan is what? أن تعبد الله كأنك ترى. It's to be an abd. This is a worship. They say it's to be a slave of Allah Ta'ala in this world as if you are able to constantly see Him. فَإِن لَمْ تَكُنْ تَرَى فَإِنَّهُ يَرَاكَ. But if you can't see Him, then it's to be a slave to know that He sees you. So the idea of being is action, but the idea of knowing that He sees you is belief. And the Quran is always tying action and belief. And as much as we tie action and belief, because if you separate the two, it almost becomes like rituals which are like checkbox. Why am I doing all this stuff? It's okay if I just skim a few percent off. You know, because I'm disconnecting it all the time. And we disconnect all the time, you start doing what? You start judging your action according to social norms. So if social norms say it's okay, yes, you can take from your workplace a bit of stationery, it's okay. Everybody's doing it. Yes, you can have a free connection with Eskom, pick her up, everybody's doing it. You see now, the social, okay, I'm not going to get discussion with it's human rights on that. Anyway, I'm just saying, if you don't have the connection between action and belief, you start just measuring your action by social norms, and then you start going, as society descends, you descend as well. But a believer never does it. A believer always says, is this right when I stand before Allah? That's the only question. When I stand before Allah Ta'ala, is it right? May Allah give us upright lives. May Allah make us people who stand out in society for being honest. I'll end with and say, like, I read this, I heard the story many times, I actually read it one day, is that in Cape Town, if they used to have a court case, and they saw someone with a red kufiya with a tassel, that was a haji, they would know that person is upright, they'll call him as a witness. Documented in Cape Town history. In the courts of our law, that used to happen. Because that was considered a mark of an upright witness is someone who went on Hajj. That person wouldn't lie again. So this is how we should be. We mustn't have a reputation of stealing or lying. It's terrible. A believer should always be honest. And people will respect it. May Allah bless and protect. We carry on next week, inshallah. It's in Surah Al-Asr. A'udhu billahi min ash-shaytanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Wal asr. Inna al-insana lafi khusr. إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر سبحان الله الحمد لله لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك